now, since I realize being in the profession, what leadership really means is not any of these, which is a misnomer we carry. In hindsight, I see that so many people get doing things which they don't want to. Profession and the course did to me was extreme confidence, extreme fearlessness. Everybody is kind of either trying to cope up or pretending to be somebody who they are not. From being the caterpillar who went in the cocoon to become the butterfly, if that's an analogy I could use here. I think that is one of the biggest challenges of a woman. You lose your confidence somewhere along the line. Perseverance, persistence is the key. So if you really want something to happen and you don't give up and don't get disheartened, women are emotionally much stronger than
Yes.
the men.
Yes.
So that helps a lot, not dependent on me, but make them independent so that when they walk away, it's a lasting change for them. Not what do you bring as a strength as a leader and how do you see it working? Emotional intelligence is definitely very, very important today, whether it's the corporate, whether it's women, whether it's even children nowadays. Sit down and see, get that clarity of what do you really want.
Hi, Ashima, and welcome to the AboutHer Show, a show where we get trailblazing women to share the story of their lives with us. To tell us about their successes, failures, challenges, ups and downs, all of it, so that not only do they get a platform to showcase themselves, to talk about themselves, because women are known not to talk about themselves. So we want them to rectify that. And then also help us, inspire other women who are listening in, watching the episode, who also want to do something in life, who also want to make something of their lives, but don't know how to go about it or do it because probably they're at that stage of life, don't have enough confidence or the support to do that. Now, and along with women, of course, we get men on the show, men who champion such women because we believe that for a truly gender inclusive world, men and women need to be allies in this journey. Now, when I was speaking to you the other day, there were, three things that struck me. One was, of course, the fact that you were a lawyer. Second, that you took a sabbatical. Now, none of this was, if I may say so, earth shattering in that sense. A lot of women choose the legal profession, then a lot of women have to take a sabbatical or step back from work because of family compulsions. But the turning point in this story was the fact that A, you decided to get back into work, and then you chose something which was quite different from what you were doing earlier, which is you got into the space of coaching. This is what made me decide that we definitely want you to be on the episode. Tell us all about this transition, how you managed, how you're still navigating, and like I said, inspire other women. So once again, a very, very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. I've been following your show for a while, the podcast and everything, and it's so inspiring to see so many women. And when you asked me, and I think we were casually discussing, just getting to know each other better,
Yeah.
and when you offer this, for a moment, I'll be honest, I was like, okay, do I really want to let the world know my story? And then I said, okay, when I get inspired from so many women, why not? If it helps even one person to feel or find their way, why not? So,
Absolutely.
yes, thank you for having me here and glad to be part of this mission that you are embarking on.
See, the thing is, as you said, even if it inspires one person, because we all need to do this. We all need to talk about these things because, for years now, women have been told not to talk about their lives, not to share it with others. I think it is when we share, when we tell other people that, not only can some people relate, and here I mean women largely, can not only can they relate to what you're saying, but like I said, they may be able to take a leaf out of your book and do something with their life and make it more meaningful. So why not? Okay. So let's get started. And of course, from the very beginning, from where the story started. So, if you could take us back to your growing up years, what kind of environment did you grow up in? And what are some of the early influences that shaped who you are today?
If I go back to think, apart from all the good things and the fun that we had, I think I grew up in an environment which was very structured, disciplined, punctuality, sense of independence was something which I think my mother instilled a lot in all of us. And yes, I think the good part was that she always instilled in us that she wanted each of her daughters to be independent, not just financially, but also in terms of education. So she made sure that each of us would, whatever we liked, but pursue a professional qualification. And so that was kind of instilled since our childhood, that
Oh,
that's very important and, focus on our studying, everything else coming from that. Though my father was not in the corporate, so it was a very unusual thing. I think my mother was also highly educated, though she was a homemaker, but she made that sure. So I think a lot of things like discipline, sense of independence, to do something, have that ambition, grow, empowering us as not just children, but also as a woman, all those were things which kind of stayed with me, I guess.
yes, you're so right. Upbringing makes a lot of difference. The kind of values, the kind of morals that you grow up with, or, the ones that are imparted by parents, they stay within us even if we don't realize, they become a part of the very fabric of our being. And you made a very interesting point here that your mother, she was educated and she was a homemaker, which was so true of so many women of that generation. But I think somewhere they had it in them that, okay, I'm educated, I could not work, but my daughter has to work. So I think a lot of that inspiration came from there. They were the ones who planted those seeds, which we now see, kind of becoming into big trees, big plants, and all of that. So in that sense, yes, we are also trying to help the next generation. Okay. So, looking back, were there any early moments where you saw glimpses of leadership or emotional insight in yourself even before your corporate journey began?
As I looking back, I wouldn't think they were very loud or clear signs of leadership, anything, because I think also what we define Sangeeta leadership as growing up and even today in the environment is more like taking charge, stepping up, being, aggressive or assertive or being seen, that loud voice in the room, etc. I was anything but that all
Okay.
my growing years. But now, since I realize being in the profession, what leadership really means is not any of these, which is a misnomer we carry. So, yes, now I can reflect back and see that probably I was somebody who took this unsaid responsibility, the unsaid leadership, bringing everybody together, putting those suggestions, leading them, whether it was in school, organizing the entire activities, being the director in those, whatever you say, the play, the theater, or in sports, or in the dance performances, everything,
Hmm.
that, taking that lead, I think quiet lead at the same time creating results was something that I feel were the leadership signs. A couple of other things which I see are, people reaching out to me,
Mhm.
confiding in me, trusting in me, sharing with me are also, I think, what I could say are signs of unsaid leadership there.
So that's it. And like you so rightly pointed out, leadership is not all about being assertive and aggressive. Yes, you do need that in certain situations, but it is, I think, more about carrying people with you. You have to take everyone with you. I mean, if you're the lone person going somewhere, then you're not a leader, right?
Yeah.
So, someone who can carry people, someone who can inspire, influence, I think that is a more holistic definition of leadership and a true leader. So, as I understand, you started your career in law and, corporate roles. So, tell me what drew you to that path initially, and what did those early years teach you about yourself?
I think what interestingly, as I shared with you, I was aspiring doctor, a medical
Yes,
student,
yes, yes.
right? Where I realized when I was in second year of my college, not in medical college, but in science, that oh, this is not what I want to get into. So I think those were areas which started helping me see that people around me, there were many people who did not want to do what they were pushed into probably or suggested by their parents. That's how things happen in our time, unlike today where children have umpteen choices and counselors to make, the correct decisions. And that's where I realized that, of course, that time I was struggling for my own clarity or where I want to head. But in hindsight, I see that so many people get doing things which they don't want to.
Hmm.
And even in the midlife in 35, they start realizing, oh, this is not what I wanted to do in life, right? So, what inspired me at that moment was the fact that this was a profession, law, which was at, let's say, 25 years back, not seen as something very safe, secure as a profession for women. So,
Hmm.
not many women were encouraged to go into it. And two was there was a huge fear around the legal system, the police, and so many laws coming, people being unaware of it. So I think that was my point, which I decided that, I'm going to do this and understand why is there so much fear around this. So somebody needs to know how do courts proceed, what's happening in the courts, what are the laws here, what are our rights here, etc., so that we're not in constantly living in fear when somebody says, oh, I'm going to do a case, or the labor union steps up, or the police catches you for something. So you know what it is. So I think that was what triggered me to
Hmm.
take up law. Of course, I worked out with much more. I think what the profession and the course did to me was extreme confidence, extreme fearlessness, because now you are in the system, so you're not outside the system. And yes, I think I actually did enjoy that part of it. But um, again, in hindsight, when I look back now, I feel we were doing a lot of things. There is a lot that we were trying to do on the surface as a professional, but inside there was stress, there was a misalignment which was constantly being carried, which I do see even now in people.
Right.
So yeah, that thing, I don't know if I could answer the question well, what was my learning there, but yeah, that's what took me to the profession.
See, first of all, I think learning is, constant. It is
Yeah.
something we are doing all the time. And as we mature and get on in years, there's so much that we have picked up from the surroundings, from the environment around us. So learning is constant. So, yes, different stages teach us different things. But now, if we look at your transition from someone who was at some point wanting to be a doctor for whatever reasons, that was one thing, and then gradually discovered that that was not what she wanted to do. She chose something else, which was, as I understand, going by what you said, pretty path breaking at that time because of all the fear and the, stigma, so to say, attached around it. And then, of course, she digressed into something very different, so which actually speaks volumes about the growth and evolution of you as a person. You see, different stages, different environments, responding to different situations in different ways. So tell me, my next question is kind of related to this, that was there a defining moment or a phase in your life when you realized that success in the corporate world isn't just about performance, but it is about people, it is about mindsets and behavior?
Right. So, like I was building on that, Sangeeta, that we all are performing, and my high point of the career was arguing my own cases in the high court. And it's like it was a moment like out of the movies where a very difficult judge points and tells your senior advocate to sit down and say, let this young girl argue.
Hmm.
And you argue, and he admits it. And when you come out of the court, people are coming after you, asking for your visiting cards, etc.
Yeah.
Right. That was the high point. I will always remember that I had to take a sabbatical for certain reasons then. But what I started realizing then was that, we are doing all these things, but inside, so outside, we are sometimes pretending. Nobody probably knew. When I was arguing at 25 in front of the court, the judge, a high court judge, I was all flustered inside. I
Hmm.
could feel my cheeks burning. I could feel extreme nervousness. On the outside, people would see me as very confident, knowing everything.
Yeah.
But so, what I'm saying, the alignment is missing.
Hmm. Hmm.
What am I doing? Maybe there was lack of confidence, lack of self-belief. Though on the external, there were a lot of things telling you you're doing good and great here. You're struggling to cope up with the fast pace in life. You're struggling with a lot of mindsets here
Right.
because the mindset is maybe you're not believing in yourself here.
Hmm.
You're suffering maybe from what we call the imposter syndrome partially. It
Hmm.
could be, okay, how do I manage this time between so many things? So you're always on the run. So nobody outside can see or understand what's going inside. And I
Right.
think that was something which started showing me that it's not just me. As I speak to people, everybody is having that misalignment somewhere.
Hmm.
Everybody is kind of either trying to cope up or pretending to be somebody who they are not.
Okay. So, all right. So you're trying to say is that what is sometimes seen on the outside is probably not true because you yourself don't know that. And people only see what they see, but inside what is going on is something that probably even at that time you don't realize the deeply manifested, how should I say, beliefs and behaviors. Yes, you're nervous. Yes, you're a little edgy about things, but maybe there is something else inside you, something which is stirring you up, which is probably going to take you somewhere else in life. Now, as you said, so you took up the legal career and then you had to take a sabbatical, which I think a lot of women have to take for various reasons. But then after that, you chose to pivot into coaching. Now, my question is that this pause in your life when you were on a sabbatical and not like working in that sense, what did that phase reveal to you and how did it shape the next chapter?
So in that phase, Sangeeta, like we say, and that's what I see some of the things which I was talking about in the earlier, that mindset, people's behaviors. I think I realized I have a natural flair for it. So meeting people, even if they talk or they do certain things, I was able to sense that, who they really are or what they will do or not do. So I think that, I mean, you can call that judgment, but it's not judgment really, it's an assessment of people. And
Mm-hmm.
when I figured that out, I think in that phase was my self-awareness went very high.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness of who I am, what I'm capable of. And I think a part of me was undergoing a sorts of coaching where I changed as a personality. So there were a lot of things you admire in others, and you say, oh my God, how does this person speak, right things at the right time? I only can realize what to say later. Why could I not say this? How can I do this? So there's so many women who keep admiring other women and probably men also for a lot of things they do. But we never believe that we also are capable of doing all that, and we have that in us because maybe we are boxed by a
Mm-hmm.
lot of upbringings. Yeah. So I think that was my phase, if I could say, from being the caterpillar who went in the cocoon to
Mm-hmm.
become the butterfly, if that's an analogy I could use here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the transformation that happened for me. And when I felt that whole transformation and I could see how I am the person I always wished and desired I could be, is when it came to me that I would like to do the same to others because I do see people around me suffering the same way, staying in that shell, in that cocoon all their life, not being able to break out, not even being aware that they are in that cocoon.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my triggering point of looking at coaching as the second transition of my career.
Right.
And yes, once I decided to go into it, I think the most difficult part was to start studying again because I believe that whatever you have to do, you have to do it to your best.
Yeah.
Not that just because it's a profession and you're going to make money, but you need to give value to people. So I think authenticity and values, ethical values have also been very high for me always. So
Correct.
yes, starting to study at 40 was
Mhm.
one thing which I think was something I really needed to break through. And yes, once I started with that, I think there was no looking back. I just took to this whole thing as a fish takes to water, and the rest is all history. Yeah.
Of course, of course. So, in a way, that sabbatical, that period of, when you were not working in that sense, going out to work, it gave you time to reflect, to pause, to think about where you were and where you wanted to go. So, in that sense, I think it helped you firm up and go with the flow in terms of what you are naturally inclined to do. Because sometimes, when we are constantly working and we don't give ourselves that time to sit and ponder and think, we are not able to realize our full potential because we don't realize what the potential is, or the natural talent is. So that sabbatical or that break in that sense gave you time to think about, look in deep into yourself and understand what is it that you truly want, what is it that you're truly capable of. So like they said, everything has, something good for you, so that is probably what that sabbatical did to you. Okay.
And I think also apart from it, I did have somebody who was my coach and my mentor
Okay.
because on your own, it's to get that awareness and clarity is not easy. And
Right.
not all of us get that, however high we may. It's only when somebody helps you to see that, to delve into that area, is when you're able to work and discover yourself, true self.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that was also something that I would highly contribute my awareness and transition to this path too.
Okay. All right. So, any person's life is fraught with challenges. We face different kinds of challenges. And I think women more than men in some cases, and most cases, if I may say so. So tell me, along your journey, what were some of the toughest challenges or choices you had to make professionally and personally, and how did you navigate them?
So personally, as you know, as you just said, that women have more than men because you're also looking after the family, your children, unsaid responsibility, right? Both do it, but it rests more on the woman always. Running your house, making sure you're taking care of your parents, etc., which is needed at times. And I think those were some personal challenges. I would say that, okay, and since I had been on the sabbatical, and most of the women who have been on that sabbatical, because they were taking care of all this, that stays along with the fact that you want to do something in your professional life again.
Right.
It's easier to transition from a one working role to the other because you're already in that gamut.
Yeah, yeah.
The system is in place. Now the whole system has been disturbed. So I think challenging and changing that and managing everything was my personal sphere's challenge, I think, most importantly.
Hmm.
And professionally, the challenge was to get back to the corporate because having been on such a long break
Right.
and having worked with many women also when I work with them to help them get back, etc., I think that is one of the biggest challenges of a woman. You lose your confidence somewhere along the line. You
Yeah.
lose that thing that, okay, how am I going to get back and face this big, bad corporate world of men here? And
Hmm.
I'm terming that because that's the sense that I get from so many women. You know, that fear, that lack of confidence. So I think professionally, that was it. Also, professionally, a bigger challenge was that when you get back to a different profession, the corporate doesn't see you as somebody who's capable enough to do that stuff because you don't have a history or a
Yes.
background in it. And you've been out of touch for long. So they don't see, they only count your experience, your last designations. So I think that was my biggest struggle to come back and coach executives in the corporate.
Hmm.
But like they say, it sounds very nice as quotes, but I think I've lived it. Perseverance, persistence is the key. So if you really want something to happen and you don't give up and don't get disheartened, and so defeat is, in my terms, not giving up, not that you were successful or failure. So if you don't give up and you continue, you keep finding your path, you keep taking those baby steps, and then you develop and build that confidence and you develop and build those clients. And that is what you use as your, let's say, stepping stone to the corporate world.
Right.
So I think, yeah, that was my strategic thinking, I could say.
Yeah.
So just before this, I was coaching somebody on strategic thinking, and I realized that, I have been doing that strategic thinking planning all the time in my career to land up where I am today. Because
Right.
there was no support, there are no godfathers here. And I think when women pave their way through their own persistence, they do, they
Yes.
can.
Yes.
And then they find their way. And I think that's the other thing that you need to do is help other women also find that way.
Ah,
Because somebody somewhere did help me in
yeah.
certain things, giving opportunities, etc. And yeah, I think I'll always be grateful for them to help me find that small feat somewhere, work on that clarity, etc.
Right. Right. So I think it's very important, staying the course because, of course, when you start something new, there will be challenges, and especially if you've come back after a break. It does take away your confidence. It does take away that element of self belief. You're constantly doubting yourself. You don't know whether you'll be able to do it or not. But I think just staying the course, staying at it is something which can greatly help. And I firmly believe that women can do it because, the sheer diversity of challenges and situations that we come across in life, I think they equip us very well, in dealing with challenges. Of course, we may not believe, and that is one of the things that women don't do. They don't believe in themselves, but stay the
Also,
course.
just adding that women are emotionally much stronger than
Yes,
the men.
yes,
So that helps a lot in that, to build that resilience, to continue to be able to manage a lot of things. And
correct.
that's also a learning apart from not just my personal story, but having seen so many women in the corporate world and coaching them and working with them,
Right,
that emotional resilience is very high for women. When I
absolutely.
work with the men, I can see how low it is versus when it comes to women.
Right, right. So as you mentioned, you're working with, senior, leaders and CXOs and all of that in the corporate world. So tell me, what are some common blind spots you see at the top, and how do you help leaders confront them?
So, couple of common traits which I would say when I see with them is definitely there is in 70% of them the lack of that executive presence, the
Okay.
emotional intelligence or resilience that we are talking about,
Hmm.
which in the coaching terminology we say emotional regulation. That's a part we're working.
Okay.
Um, Extreme stress, lack of clarity, and the whole mindset and belief around certain things in the corporates. So the biggest blind spot for them is the mindsets they carry that, okay, this is how things have to be done. This is what success looks like. This is how I have to be a good leader. And, trying to become that, which is nowhere aligns with either their values or the personality.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think changing and breaking through those blind spots, shifting those mindsets, getting them the clarity of moving is what is a large part of this scenario. And as you're going higher, the technical expertise is all there. I think the
Yeah.
softer skills and the mindsets and all these are what are missing. So
Right.
even having worked with CXOs and when we work, so coaching is typically, it's peeling layers of an onion, going in the discovery and recovery mode. And
Hmm.
that's what I find very interesting because people may come with similar challenges, but the stories turn out to be very different, very interesting
Hmm.
from what each client may have.
Hmm.
And that uncovering, and I enjoy the process with them. And I tell them, I say, even I don't know what's coming at the end of it,
Right.
what's there. But those are the blind spots we say we keep uncovering. So I can't say, we can generalize the blind spots, but each person comes with a different. So we end up uncovering a different blind spot for somebody. So the entire process or the work is about uncovering those blind spots, helping them see what are those beliefs and mindsets we are carrying, how are they impacting your work
Hmm.
and the outcome that you're desiring, and how do we work around changing them? And then comes the strategy of, certain things like, okay, what else could be the strategic interventions we could do?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those few are the common ones that I always see coming for people.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Blind spots obviously will be different for different people because, it depends on your personality, depends on your circumstances, your belief system and all of that. So they definitely will be different. Now, Ashima, as I understand, you strongly believe that business results stem from mindset and behavior. So, can you share a powerful example, where a mindset shift you saw created some kind of a real transformation?
Right. So, each client, that's the work that like I said, we work on that mindset shift
Hmm.
because my coaching philosophy that follows is that whatever are your results today
Hmm.
are because of the actions you're taking,
Yeah.
right? And what makes you act in a certain way in a certain situation is because that's how you think and feel in that situation.
Okay.
Okay. Because however you think and feel is what prompts your action.
Right.
Action leads to the result.
Hmm.
Now, why do you think and feel an X way in a particular situation, wherein somebody else may think and feel a Y way in that same situation?
Correct.
That's what stems from your mindset, your beliefs, your conditioning, your values, your personality, everything,
Right.
right? And that's where we say that we work on changing the reverse way. We
Hmm.
don't work on changing just actions because actions is a very transactional approach,
Correct. Hmm.
right? So we work the reverse way on changing that mindset.
Hmm.
Once you have a new mindset, and that's why we say coaching is transformation. It's not just, okay, you've come, you've gotten certain goals and you walk away and then you come with the same problem again.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
my idea is always to make them independent, not dependent on me, but make them independent so that when they walk away, it's a lasting change for them.
Right.
Right. So that's where we say, I work on changing, first finding those mindsets, beliefs, work on changing that. When you have a new mindset, you think and feel differently in that same situation. When you think and feel differently, you will also act differently. You
Right.
won't act the same way. And when your action will start changing, your results will also start changing.
Right.
Right? So that's what my philosophy here is that on working on that. If I were to pick one example, I can only think of the most recent uh, one person that I'm coaching in London here, and she came with this mindset that I need to be an aggressive leader. I
Mhm.
need to have my voice in the room because that's what leadership is. And she's working in the VC industry. So she says venture capitalism and equity and all need that kind of, because there are more men and she's
Right.
kind of the only woman here, right? And she is a CXO level here. So she's always feeling that my voice is not heard in that room.
Hmm.
On the contrary, as we went through the coaching, etc. sessions, she discovered that people really like her, her team members, and other people in business functions. They say, we like your soft approach. It's very different from typical
Yeah.
aggressive men leaders here. And they share with her, they are willing to work with her. So it's an unsaid leadership again. The impact and influence is there. When she talks of a project, people come. She doesn't have to pull them. They come. They want to work with her. They are willing to do certain things, which she was not aware of. She kept seeing that as her weakness than as a strength. Right.
Right.
So she was trying to be that leader. So just quick shifts. I can't share the whole story also for confidentiality reasons. So the quick shift here is that mindset of this is how a leader is supposed to be versus what do you bring as a strength as a leader and how do you see it working. So when that shift starts happening and in our own way to find, okay, what aligns with you, how can you be more assertive? She cannot be aggressive because that's not her personality.
Hmm.
So having said that, there are women leaders who are extremely aggressive and assertive, but how can she use her strength of assertiveness and the knowledge she brings to voice? So once the mindset shifted and we put certain strategies, she could start speaking and voicing her ideas, opinions, policies she would want to bring and the changes she brought, the strategic visioning in that boardroom more assertively. So
Right.
a lot of things were impacting. So the mindset was impacting her tonality. She
Hmm.
was speaking right things, content was correct,
Hmm.
but maybe we could do this, the language, everything starts. Okay, so there is so much doubt coming. So once that changed, her voice was being heard in the boardroom also. And interestingly, she managed to be, so there was a merger happening
Mm-hmm.
with the two big companies here. And she said both teams are going to bring C-suite levels, right? So there's going to be end of there, only one C-suite team. So only one CXO, a CFO, one CTO, and one COO is going to remain. And she said, out of the two, I want to be that one. So
Wow.
working on that all. So that was a goal, working on it with different things, like I said, different shifts here. Ultimately, we worked also on what actions she should be doing so that her visibility is high. Because as humans, we end up doing everything that's on our task list. We
Mm-hmm.
forget to see what are the ones which are going to create more visibility and impact in the corporate region,
Correct.
right? So all those were different things, but basically was that shift in her of how she should show up as a leader. It worked for her, all the things with that. And she shared the good news last few weeks back with me, saying that the merger has finally gone through and she is the CTO of now the largest
Wow.
telecom company there. So
Wonderful.
that really gives that sense of accomplishment to me, though
Of
as
course.
coaches we work behind the scenes and we help our clients. So it's like the director, everybody behind the scenes, the hero of the movie takes the role. But I think that gives me the fulfillment that I seek as a coach.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because, I mean, one thing that you pointed out so well that, women have to understand that even if they are bringing something, first of all, they have to understand that they're bringing something different to the table, and it is okay to bring that something different. You don't have to bring to the table what the men are bringing because you're not a man.
Yeah.
So don't try to be a man or don't try to emulate a man. Be your own self and be confident of what you are bringing. So I think that realization is something very, very critical for women in leadership, which actually brings me to my next question, which has to do with women in leadership, and which is that you worked closely with women professionals. Now, what are some unique challenges women face in leadership, and what mindset shifts are most critical for them?
One mindset shift is what we talked.
Yes.
The aggressive leader.
Yes.
Typically, women feel that, my voice is not heard in the room. The typical challenges they face is one, definitely, I find most women saying that voice is not heard,
Hmm. Hmm.
or they face more opposition from the men because uh, not all companies and organizations have too many women in senior leadership. So we
Right.
always see, few examples that there are women, there's an Indra Nui, there is this who's doing great. But they've reached there, they've had the set of challenges, but largely, if you see the top tier as you go higher, becomes more male dominated.
Yes.
Another very typical challenge, which is also very real, is when women are going through their maternity breaks. So
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of women recently who've either come back from maternity breaks or are going to go, and they say we are not getting an option of a better role or their growth. One of them, interestingly, I had in the morning said that she got that promotion when she came back from the break. She said, I didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
And why she didn't want, she said it was an organizational restructuring. You get that. But that puts me in a role which is continuing to be an IC technical role. I want to go in the managerial role and I don't have any way to move there.
Mm-hmm.
So the organizations are somewhere still a little biased there,
Yeah.
putting them in those roles, showing on the face of it that you've got a promotion, but
Yeah.
you've been somewhere sidelined. You're not leading people. You're still in an IC role, so an
Mm.
individual contributor, right? So I guess that's where I find that women are really trying to struggle to come back and they feel they lose that time,
Yes.
right? So men can keep going,
Yeah, of course.
cut, 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 cut like this, right? The women have that little break, though they're still performing, they're coming back doing things, but they do have to face somewhere the brunt of it. We
Absolutely.
can have many organizational policies, everything saying that no, 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 you have the paternity break, you have paid maternity 6 months and all, but the career challenges that they have to navigate in that period are for real.
Absolutely. And this is true. I mean, for the optics, organizations are doing a lot of stuff. They're putting a lot of policies in place, but are they really practicing them? That is $1 million question because most of them are not. I mean, they have their own reasons, but they definitely are not. I mean, there is pressure to, all this gender diversity goals and all of that. So they're doing it, but, it's more in letter than in spirit. Okay. So tell me, Ashima, in today's high pressure world, where we are all trying to, make a name, a place for ourselves, and all of that, how important are emotional intelligence and resilience, and how can professionals actively build those skills?
I think that's the core for anybody today, Sangeeta, because of this what you call the VUCA world, the changing. We are
Hmm.
also volatile on our emotions, and you can feel 100 emotions in the day. In this conversation, when we're having, just when you step out or before entering into it, one could have felt an emotion of, let's say, rushing through the day. There are times when something comes in, you're like, oh my God, how does this happen? So there is fear coming. There could be anxiousness coming for people because deadlines and timelines are so high in the corporate world. There are so many emotions of loneliness and sadness, which we don't term as emotions.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
the emotional resilience and intelligence, which we are talking so much about now, is very, very important because the emotions are impacting your behaviors all the time.
Hmm.
They impact your decision making. So in the corporate, when I see and I'm coaching these leaders, if there is a stress underlying the emotion, could be a fear,
Hmm.
decision making is impacted, right? You're making decisions out of that fear,
Hmm.
lowering your risk, wherein maybe a little higher risk decision could be a better decision,
Of course. Hmm.
right? So as I see that emotional intelligence is definitely very, very important today, whether it's the corporate, whether it's women, whether it's even children nowadays,
Right.
how they're living. But there is no one, let's say, formula to build that emotional resilience.
Hmm.
The key step, which I always say, is to become more aware of your emotions.
Hmm.
And that's your starting point. Of
Hmm.
course, it's a task to learn, to deal with them. Having been in the profession, working on it as one of my core areas, I have moved, I would say, 50% or 60% of distance there, but I also still, falter at times in
Right.
that surge of emotions. So it can't happen in a day. But yes, if you can become aware, the first step that, okay, what am I feeling? And where is this emotion? Because every emotion is telling you
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
story about what you're running and believing in your head.
Hmm.
And if you can just sit with that emotion to understand and label that emotion, it
Hmm.
takes away at least 50% of power from that emotion.
Right.
So that's one thing that I can just share that, people can try that to
Hmm.
start with and see. Because people are not even aware of the emotion. What am I feeling? We're just doing this. We're doing this. We do the action, we speak, we do everything. And then we later say, oh my God, what did I do? Why did I mess up here?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, sitting with that emotion, labeling the emotion, trying to see if you can, why am I feeling what I'm feeling?
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
will really give you a lot of solutions and insights at time.
Very true and a great insight because, understanding your emotion, where is it coming from? I think will, as you said, solve 50% of the problem, because we tend to react to things. We don't respond. And if we need to respond, then we definitely need to understand where we are coming from. We need to understand the emotion. So, yes, just taking a pause from the madness of everyday life, just sit back and think about why you are going through a particular emotion. Like you said, where is it coming from? Great insight there. So, Ashima, as I understand, your approach blends Eastern spirituality and Western neuroscience. Now, how does this combination show up in your coaching practice?
That becomes my crux of the coaching practice. I think.
Okay.
So we say as coaches, you will bring what you have worked, the work you've done on yourself, etc. Right? So that deep work helps. So when we say Eastern spirituality, the Eastern spirituality is all about who you are as a person,
Hmm.
right? What's your essence, the awareness, what's the purpose, what am I trying to do, the emotions, everything. So deep inside is what I would say. And the Western, the neuroscience, etc., are the new things which are coming. So we have a lot of these tools which come in, right? A lot of practices because there are two parts to it. One is what we say the inside of you,
Hmm.
getting that awareness, getting those insights, understanding yourself, everything better. And the other is to support that with tools. So
Okay.
when you have those tools, like you said, the emotional intelligence part, right?
Yeah.
Sitting, awareing, and then we'll have tools to supplement your journey for the change. So I think that's how it shows up for me in my life. I do that, using those things, and that's how I use it in my coaching here.
So, in a way, the best of both the worlds, right?
That's what we are supposed to bring, right?
Yes. And why not? When you have two sets of thinkings and two ways of doing things, why not blend the two and get better
Absolutely.
results? Okay. So, Ashima, for someone listening today or watching this episode who feels stuck, uncertain, or at crossroads in their career or life, what is the first step you think they should take to move forward?
I would say sit down and see, get that clarity of what do you really want?
Hmm.
Okay, what do you really want and where do you really want to go?
Yeah.
And then a very cliched line, but don't give up on yourself and your dreams. And prioritize yourself is what I would say.
Hmm.
Prioritize yourself, prioritize your dreams because women more than often would end up doing everything. And I'm not saying that they give up the home, etc., and they
Yeah.
look after the home, but even in the corporate, they do everything that the leaders are asking or there are organizational goals. But in that rush, we forget to see what do I really want? Where am I really heading? So I would say, yeah, the first thing is that people, especially coming back, wanting to start the careers, get the clarity because clarity is
Yes.
50% of your journey. And
Right.
the rest 50% you will find out because most women start, oh, I want to get back to my career. And I've had that because when I started, I was coaching a lot of women on getting back to careers because that's what was I was very compassionate about. I've done that. I would like others to do. But I realized that a lot of women don't have that clarity. They want to do something. What do they want to do? We work to find out. But in the end, they give up because they don't have the courage to make the change.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So, yeah, I think the first thing I would say is clarity. And then second would be your persistence, courage. You'll find your way. Believe in yourself. And there are like so many professionals that can help you to find that way and support you on the journey. So at least start with that you want and where you want to go, because the clarity also gives a lot of conviction and a lot of courage to move forward. So I
I
think, yeah, that's
totally
what I would say.
I totally believe in this and agree with this because I also think that clarity helps you understand yourself. And when you understand yourself, you will understand what you want from life or what you want, anyways, from anywhere. And when you know what you want, only then can you move forward. And of course, the courage, the confidence will come. But first of all, you have to know, like they say, know thyself. If you don't know yourself, how can you strive for anything in life because you don't know what you want? Right? So that I think is the first step, definitely. All right. So, Ashima, while we've come to the end of the conversation, we still have the rapid fire round, which is 5 quick questions followed by 5 quick answers. So, are you ready for it?
Yes, let's go for it.
Yes. All right. So here you go. The first one, a mindset shift that changed your life.
I'm good enough.
Wow. Wow. Wonderful. The next one word that describes leadership today.
Compassion and empathy. I would say 2 words here.
Okay, no worries. All right, the next one. Your go-to tool when facing a difficult conversation.
I have this little tool or structure framework for a
Okay.
difficult conversation, which I do share with my clients also. So that's my go-to tool. Where you want me to share my secret here?
Yes, of course.
So it is minusing the I and you and bringing it to the it, rolling a conversation out it.
Okay.
Um, okay, so the I is the ego, the you is the ego. And that's the difficult part because the most difficult part of a conversation, what makes it difficult is the emotions, pressing the wrong buttons. So when we minus the I and you and we say the common purpose or the it, which is neutral, it is a pronoun, right? It doesn't have a gender here. Then the emotion is minused. Once that's minused, the difficult conversation is not so difficult.
Wow, wow. I think I'm going to use that. All right, the next one. One word your clients would use for you.
Oh, one word. I would say patience and warmth, which I hear a lot of my clients say, and a good listener
Okay.
um, is what they say usually when they write feedbacks for me.
So that is what, I mean, counseling and coaching is all about. And finally, if not a coach, you would be dot, dot, dot.
I can't think of anything else.
All
To
right.
say no to my legal profession. And that was always a plan.
So you would go back to your legal profession?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So thank you so much.
Thank
Very
you.
inspiring, very fascinating because, like as I spoke about it at the beginning of the conversation, that, the transition and how you moved here. So, which actually fascinated me was the fact that you took up coaching. So, this has brought a lot of clarity, and I can see how maybe, right from the very beginning, from the way you were raised to the kind of decisions you took early on in life, and then even taking a sabbatical was your decision, and then shows that empathetic side of you, the side which cares for people, which wants to help people, but at the same time cares for herself too. I think all that has in a way culminated in this stage of your life where you are coaching, where you're counseling, where you're helping other people. So beautiful journey, and all the best to you in all your future endeavors, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta, for all your kind words. So sometimes all these words are what also we need as encouragement. So I keep saying that when my clients say, I said, your testimonials, your feedbacks are what are my fuel. So when we say, fill your cup, that's the way I find to fill my cup. So I can keep pouring from the cup to others. So thank you so much. You have also filled my cup today by your by this it was a very interesting podcast and very interesting questions you brought, and I really appreciate, Sangeeta, what you've been doing. Not just that you are giving the women a platform, but also to be able to go through so many journeys and to able to bring it out really so well by your questioning. I think kudos to you too here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So my cup is full too. Thank you.
Perfect. So we shall enjoy our full cups for today.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. Take care.
You
Have a
too.
good rest of the day.
You too. So thank you for tuning in to the About Her show. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more from where that came from. Our previous guests have shared some amazing stories, so be sure to catch up on past episodes. To keep up with our inspiring conversations and to never miss an update, hit subscribe, rate, review, and share the love. Follow us on social media for some great content, and don't forget to check out our website www.aboutherbysangeeta.com for stories that resonate, inspire, and empower. Know a remarkable woman or an inspiring man blazing a trail? We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a note at web.abouther@gmail.com and let's bring their story to life on the About Her Show.